السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على السلام حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن حديث محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة في الإسلام بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise is due to Allah Azza wa Jal. We praise Him and we extol Him and we seek refuge in Allah Tabarak Ta'ala of evil within ourselves and evil results of our wrong actions. Whomsoever Allah guides can be never left astray in misguidance. And whomsoever Allah allows to be left astray, there is no guide for that individual. Really, the most fruitful of speech is the book of Allah Tabarak Ta'ala, and the finest guidance is that of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I bear witness that there is nothing worthy of worship except Allah Azza wa Jal, and I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is his slave and final messenger. Amma ba'd. Last week, my dear brothers, salam and iman, those of us who are not here with us, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, I had the privilege of speaking about the importance of having istiqamah, uprightness and willpower in Islam, according to the book and the authentic sunnah, bi'idhnillah. Today, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, by the permission of Allah, I'd like to speak about or discuss a little bit about istighatha, which is seeking refuge from hardships and difficulties with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And why I chose this is because a lot of people as believers, a lot of the believers, we have episodes of depression or ups and downs or lack of enthusiasm in our lives. And we have to understand, as believers, striving on the path of Allah Ta'ala, that these are natural parts and episodes in our lives that we must encounter and endure. And these are things what the Anbiya or Rusul, they used to experience in their lives. That they had episodes of ups and downs. And Allah mentions that many times in His book. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَنْ يُتْرَكُوا أَنْ يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا هُمْ يَفْتَنُونَ. Do people believe that they will be left alone just saying that they believe in Allah Ta'ala and they will not be tested? So being tested is a natural part of life, that we will be put through different types of trials in our lives. But one of the most severest types of tests is a mental test, or when a person experiences a mental breakdown. As we know, this is the flu season, and people can pick up a bug or catch a cold or a cough. When we see a person suffering from a cold or a cough, the sunnah is to say, labas, tahuran insha'Allah. It's no problem. Let that be forgiveness for you by the permission of Allah Ta'ala. But if we notice that a person is experiencing an episode of stress or an anxiety in their lives, this is something which is majority of the time hidden from everybody. And nobody knows that that person is experiencing that thing, that they're going through an episode of stress and anxiety. And this is something which can be very, very serious if left untreated, or even worse, if treated in an incorrect way. Because we know as believers that there are so many misguided groups out there. And so many of them will give a wrong interpretation to what the person is suffering from, or give them a wrong diagnosis for what they're suffering from. So today I want to speak about the spiritual cure, which is known as istighatha, seeking refuge in Allah Ta'ala. But the first thing we have to understand, we can recite all of the du'as that are out there, but if we don't have taqwa of Allah, then it is little or no benefit for us. And we know that Allah Azza wa Jal, He had always given this wasiyah, this advice for us over and over in His book. وَلَقَدْ وَسَيْنَا الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ أَنِ اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Allah Azza wa Jal says that He had given this advice to those people who came before us and to us, that we should have ittaqullah, the consciousness of Allah Ta'ala in all of our affairs. When the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he sent Mu'adh bin Jabal to Yemen, he said to him, ittaqullah haythu ma kunt, watba sayyat hasanat tamhuha, wa khaliq an-nas bi khuluqin hasan. He said to him that you should have the consciousness of Allah wherever you go, and follow up a bad deed with a good deed, and it will wipe it out. And always treat the people with good manners. So sometimes we are experiencing an episode of depression which can happen in our lives. and we do not understand why this thing is happening or where it's coming from. So we have to be conscious of Allah by being conscious of ourselves and how we feel and not overlook ourselves. So the first thing that I would like to mention in this regard is, although we are the people of the Sunnah, is that we will occasionally experience these episodes. And why I say this episode of stress or anxiety is that it's not meant to last. If we're experiencing these things, we should not be overcome by grief or sadness or sorrow. This is something which is not a natural state for the believers to be in. And what are some of the signs? What are some of the signs that we can look at within ourselves? If we start to see ourselves as lethargic, or we're feeling depressed all the time, sluggish, we have little nashat, energy to do anything, these are some of the first signs that we're experiencing or we're going through an episode of depression. And if we see this within ourselves, then we might start to experience a lack in confidence in ourselves and in our accomplishments. And we might start to feel within ourselves a fear. We fear everything. We fear what people think or what people may think about us. So we have to understand that this is something which the Prophet ﷺ prophesied about, that these things might occur in the life of the believer. This is an authentic hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed with a Sahih Isnad, and the third of Abdullah bin Umar, anhuma. May Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that inna kulli amlin shirratun wa li kulli shirratin fatra, faman kana shirratuhu ila sunnati faqad aflaha, wa man kana fatratuhu ila ghayri dhalik faqad halik. Or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He said every action starts with a period of enthusiasm, sharra, where we feel energetic to do that thing. And with that high level of enthusiasm, after some time, we will start to calm down and we'll lose that enthusiasm. So whose period of rest or lack of enthusiasm is on the Sunnah, then they have been guided. And whose period of lack of enthusiasm is on other than the Sunnah, then they are destroyed. Sometimes it is natural, that we just want to be alone, or we don't want to be bothered by anybody. Everybody goes through this, especially as we come into the teens, mid-teens, early 20s or 30s. We start to feel that at times we just want to be alone, we don't want to speak to anybody, or we don't want to be bothered. This is something which is natural. But we shouldn't allow this state to cause us to stop practicing Islam. Because a lot of people, when they get into that type of a feeling, or they allow that feeling to come over them, they stop practicing the deen. To the point they start to involve in haram things for maybe a month or two or even longer. They start to involve in sinning. They start to involve in drinking and alcoholism and so many things. Let me remind myself and you all that if we're experiencing this episode of, maybe they call it a spiritual breakdown or meltdown, then we have to be afraid of Allah. We have to have the taqwa of Allah, the consciousness of Allah, that we do not want Allah Azza wa Jal or Malik al-Maut to come to us who are in that state of sinning and transgression. Let me remind myself and you all of a hadith on the authority of Abu Hurairah, who said that azani la yazni azani hayth yazni huwa mu'min, that a person who's involved in fornication, he is not a believer at the time he is doing that act. And the person who is a thief, la yasriq asariq hayth yasriq huwa mu'min, and the person who is involved in stealing, he is not a believer at the time he is stealing. And the person who is drinking alcohol, he is not a believer at the time that they are drinking alcohol. And the Messenger of Allah said that Iman leaves the person and it hovers over them like a cloud. So we don't want to die in that state when our iman has left us, when we're involved in those major things, my dear Salam and Iman. So our iman, my dear Salam, is our greatest gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we do not want to compromise at any cost. That's why we have to walk with taqwa of Allah. We have to walk in this life, tread this earth with the taqwa of Allah, the consciousness of Allah, because we do not know when our time will come. We do not know. We have no idea when our time will come. And with this in mind, with Salam and Iman, we have to know that we are nothing compared to the Anbiya wa Rasul, alayhi salatu salam. We are nothing compared to the prophets and messengers of Allah. May Allah be pleased with all of them. What they went through to deliver the message to their people, what they had to endure to deliver the message to their people, and they endured these sufferings and persecution from their people with patience and endurance and sabr. For example, the Prophet ﷺ himself, he experienced episodes of stress and anxiety and depression, as occurred in the hadith, which is collected in Sahihain, Muttafaqun alayh, in Bukhari and Muslim, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, radhiyallahu anhuma. May Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the Prophet ﷺ, at times, when he would ever experience sadness or grief, he would say, La ilaha illallah al-azim al-alim, La ilaha illallah rabbul arsh al-azim, La ilaha illallah rabbul samawat wa rabbul ard wa rabbul arsh al-kareem. In general, my dear Salam Iman, the people of the Sunnah, they are going to experience ups and downs in their lives. In general, we cannot be happy all the time. Sometimes we're going to have a moment where we have a moment of rest. We're not that enthusiastic about what's happening in our lives. Sometimes, as they say, a person might rub us the wrong way, and we just need some time to adjust. But we shouldn't let this thing prolong. We shouldn't let this thing go on for a long amount of time or a prolonged amount of time, because we're not only harming ourselves, we're also harming the community, the Jama'ah. As the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that when two Muslim brothers have a dispute, an argument, they shouldn't leave it past 3 days before one of them gives salam to the other. And the best of the two is the one who initiates the salam. So it's possible, it's very possible that we're going to have problems for whatever reason in this dunya. But we cannot let those things cause us to sever the ties of our brotherhood. So we have to learn the authentic supplications. Because if we allow these things to carry on for long periods of time, then we're only harming ourselves. We're only harming our spirituality. We're only harming our iman. And this is going to make a very, very, very problematic situation in our jama'ah. So this is why we have to make isti'adha. We have to seek refuge in Allah from these things that can and will occur in our lives. There's an authentic hadith, a supplication, which has been collected in the Sunan of Abu Dawood, where he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taught his Sahabas when they wanted relief. This hadith is in the Sunan of Abu Dawood on the authority of Abu Bakr, who reported that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the dua or the supplication of the distressed is Allahumma rahmatik arj'u فلا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفات عين واصلح لي شأن كله لا إله إلا أنت. This, my dear brother Salam Iman, is a reminder, not just for you, but for myself and for all of us, to be mindful that we can and will have ups and downs in our lives. And when they occur, they always occur unexpectedly. When these things happen, they always will occur unexpectedly. So it's upon us to be vigilant over ourselves. And as I mentioned before, from the beginning of our khutbah, we have to have a taqwa. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says that many times in His book. وَلَقَدْ وَصَيْنَا الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ أَنِ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jal had given this wasiyah, this advice to those people that He has given the book before us and to us, meaning the Yahud wa Nasara, that we should have the consciousness of Allah Ta'ala. And we, as believers, we should be more thankful than any other person on the planet Earth. That we not only have the Quran, but we have the authentic Sunnah. And with that, we have many ideas, many words of remembrance that we can recite that will take us and relieve us and will unlock and remove and give us the relief of our anxiety and our stress. We have to remind ourselves of these things. And if we can see a person suffering, and this is a hidden suffering, that it is very difficult to detect that our brother is suffering from anxiety or stress, unless he or she opens up to us and tells us that they're suffering, then we have to be kind enough to offer them these words of remembrance. When we, bi'idhnillah, we have to remind ourselves and remind our brothers, if we see them suffering or we hear them suffering, that this is only an episode. This is going to pass, inshallah. And that, ba'd al-usr yusr, after the hardship will come ease. And we have to remind them of these words of remembrance. Because as believers, sometimes we're going to feel that we don't have the strength, we don't have the willpower to achieve our goals and objectives in life. Or sometimes we allow that anxiety to overtake us to the point that we're fearful. We become fearful of our goals, our objectives, and we become fearful of what people might think about us. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's another very powerful and important supplication that I want to remind myself and you all, that the Prophet ﷺ, he taught his Sahaba. He taught his Sahaba, radhiyallahu anhum ajma'in. And I urge you all to memorize this dua. And this and all of the other du'as that we mentioned have been very conveniently compiled in a small book called Husn al-Muslim, which you can buy from any of your Islamic bookstores for maybe $2 or $3. So I advise all of you to get these books and to learn these supplications. There's one authentic hadith and a very powerful dua which has been collected in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and authority of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu, who said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever is afflicted with grief and anxiety should say this dua. Allahumma inni abduka ibnu abdika ibnu amatika nasim biyadika madin fiha hukmuka adlin fi qada'uka as'aluka bi kull ism huwa lak سميت به نفسك أو أنزلته في كتابك أو علمت أحدا من خلقك أو أستثرت به في العلم الغيب عندك أن تجعل القرآن ربي القلب والنور صدري وجال حزني وذهب الهم أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Let me read to you the translation of this blessed dua. O Allah, Allahumma inni abduka, O Allah, I am your slave. Ibnu amatika, the son of your male slave, the son of your female slave. My forelock is in your hand, which means you have control over me. You have complete control over me. Your judgment upon me is assured. Your decree concerning me is just. I ask you, as'aluka bi kullu ism huwa lak. I ask you by every name that belongs to you. Samaita bi nafsak, that you have named and you have created and you have within you, or that you have revealed in your book, or you have taught any one of your creation, or you have kept secret, unknown to anybody but yourself, that you make the Quran the spring and relief from my heart, and the light in my chest, and the banisher of my sadness, and the relief of my distress. Subhanallah. What a beautiful supplication. It was said to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after he taught his companions this dua, they said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, do we have to learn these words? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Naam, yes. Whoever hears these words, they should learn them. So may Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those الذين يستمعون القول يتبعون أحسنه. Those of us who, when we hear the good thing, we follow the best thereof. Amin, amin, amin. Bismillah, salatu salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sallam tabi huda wa ba'd. My dear Salam Iman, as we mentioned at the beginning of our khutbah today, that we have to yimshi, walk, and live in this life with the taqwa of Allah Ta'ala. We're talking about al-isti'adha, seeking refuge in Allah from our anxiety and our stress and our sorrow, which is something which is a hidden sickness. A person can be suffering from this. It's not like catching a cold or a cough or a flu. If we see a brother suffering from a cough or a cold, we say, labas, tahurin inshallah. It's not a problem. May that be purification for you. But there isn't anything that we can say to a brother or a sister who is suffering from anxiety or stress, because usually they suffer in silence. But if we do detect that a person might be suffering, then let us be kind enough to offer some words of advice. There are so many people, my dear Salam and Iman, who are living in despair. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There are so many people in and around us who are living a life of despair and loneliness. And what do? The majority of the time? They self-medicate by using drugs. They work. Many people, they might be our co-workers. You see them at work. They might be smiling, they might not be smiling. They might work overtime, and then they go home. But on the way home, they buy beer, they buy drugs, and they just stay in their house. The majority of the people here in this land of milk and honey are only living for the weekend. So they can stay home and binge watch Netflix or whatever they want to watch, drink and smoke, and not get involved with anybody in the outside world. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Many of us may have heard this or understand what I'm saying, but we don't know what it feels like to be living in a state of depression and loneliness for long periods of time. I'd like to leave us off with an incident that occurred in time of Umar ibn Khattab when he was Amir al-Mu'mineen. One day Umar ibn Khattab, he passed by the monastery of a monk, and he said, "Ya monk." And the monk came out of the monastery. And Umar ibn Khattab, he looked at him, he just started to weep bitterly. He just started to cry. Then it was said, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, why are you crying like that? What makes you cry like that?" He said that, "I remember the statement of Allah Ta'ala in his book, Amlatun Nasiba, Tasla Narun Hamia." He said, laboring hard, becoming exhausted, all of this for nothing. And in the end, they will be in that blazing fire. So that is what made me cry. It's as if Umar ibn Khattab, he wanted to give that monk da'wah. He wanted to tell him about something about Allah. But when he seen him, he just became overwhelmed at the sight and how much he is lost. So, my dear Salam Iman, why I mention this is that those of us who are aware of this makhraj min al-fitan, these words of remembrance, these adiyah, these words of supplication, and we can all read these words. They have a small book called Husn al-Muslim. The author of this book, he just died recently. But subhanallah, almost every masjid you'll see a copy of this book translated in almost every language for our benefit. So we should take these books and make these our companions. Read the Quran and make this our nur sadr, the light of our hearts. When we see that people are suffering from anxiety and stress and sorrow, we have to look at ourselves and say, alhamdulillah, that we're blessed. We have these words of remembrance that we can read, and we can grab the Quran and spend time with the Quran and read and recite the Quran. Read these words of remembrance and know that this will go away after some time. Maybe at that moment, after we finish reading those adiyah, we will feel the relief on the spot. When I say that, I mean release. Because the Allah Azza wa Jal's order over us is just, most just. So when Allah Azza wa Jal gives the relief, He will give the makhraj min al-fitan. He'll give us the way out of our difficulty. And we have to remember that Allah Azza wa Jal has ordered us in His book, and the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has ordered us in the Sunnah that we should have taqwa. Allah Azza wa Jal says, "Attaqullah la'alakum tuflihun." We should have the consciousness of Allah so that perhaps we will be successful. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless all of us, and may Allah Azza wa Jal relieve the stress and anxiety from those of us who are suffering from stress. May Allah Azza wa Jal help them. May Allah Azza wa Jal give them the faraj. May Allah Azza wa Jal give them the relief from their suffering and their stress and their anxiety. May Allah Azza wa Jal help all of those Muslims who are suffering all over the world, who have nervousness, panic attacks, and any of those hidden diseases that only you, Ya Shafi, can relieve them from. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Inna Allah wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Sallu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barak ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. Innaka Hamidum Majid. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. قيم الصلاة.